All eyes are on Tropical Storm Ian as it aims at the Western Caribbean. Good evening, I'm Mike Nasa with this 11:30 p.m. Saturday night update on the tropics. We are focused on Tropical Storm Ian. There it is on the satellite imagery, looking like it's trying to get better organized south of Jamaica. It's still struggling, it's still mixing out some things, but it should rapidly become a hurricane tomorrow and take aim at western Cuba. It is forecast to be a very powerful hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico. Here's the latest from the National Hurricane Center as of 11 p.m. Ian was at 14.7 north, 77.7 west, although the center is still trying to get it better developed, and so that may jump around a little bit. Winds are 50 miles per hour. It's moving west at 13, and it is forecast to be a hurricane by Sunday night, and then a strong major hurricane as it moves near the Cayman Islands and then headed for western Cuba. We now have a hurricane watch for areas there of western Cuba, as well as a hurricane warning for Grand Cayman, a tropical storm watch for the other Caymans, Cayman Brac, Little Cayman, and areas there of west central Cuba, with the expectation of that wind field getting a little bit larger as the system moves on towards the northwest. By the time Tuesday rolls around, it should become a Category 4 hurricane entering the Gulf of Mexico. However, there's a lot of uncertainty once we get past Tuesday. When we were thinking yesterday this thing was going to go right over western Cuba and slam into areas of, say, Fort Myers, Sarasota, it was looking like it was going to just slam in as a Category 3 or 4 hurricane. However, the model guidance all day on Saturday has trended further and further and further west, and now the track keeps it over water longer and doesn't make landfall until it reaches the Big Bend or even the Panhandle until Thursday night. And because of that, it peaks as a Category 4 hurricane over the southeast Gulf and weakens dramatically to a 3, and then all the way down officially to a Category 1 hurricane by the time it's making landfall. I've seen a few hurricanes do that. It's rare, but they are forecasting, because of all the models, a very quick weakening as it approaches the northern Gulf. Now, there is a chance it could be stronger. It could be on the left edge of this cone. It could still take that right edge and slam right into southwest Florida. But if you're in southwest Florida, it's looking much better for you guys and much worse for areas here of the Panhandle. But again, there is a lot of uncertainty. Here are the model tracks as of about midnight, Saturday night, Sunday morning, and they're pretty clustered right here, moving over the western tip of Cuba, or even in the Yucatan Channel here and missing Cuba, and then making 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, taking a couple of days there to get to the Panhandle, and that's why it peaks out here and then gradually weakens and then rapidly weakens before landfall. But here's the official forecast right here. Look at this, guys. A lot of the models are to the west of that, so if you are in areas there of areas stricken by Hurricane Michael, which was the last major hurricane to hit Florida in October of 2018. Areas there of Mexico Beach, Apalachicola, Destin. Keep an eye, because these models have trended west. We were talking about Sanibel Island last night. Now we're talking about St. George Island. So that is definitely troublesome if you're on the Panhandle. Here's another look at it. The European model insists that this thing is going to slam into western Cuba and then hook right, although it starts to bend back north and northwest right as it gradually makes landfall. So those models, the UK Met and the European, take it more towards Tampa. They did some synoptic missions. They're doing a lot of drops, trying to get an idea of the pattern, and all of that data that the aircraft have given us around Ian is going to be dumped into the newer models. So over the next few hours overnight, we're going to get new models with new upper air data, which could give us a better indication. But we know right now, western Cuba, the Caymans, they are the ones first up in the line of fire. But again, look at these ensembles. Anywhere from Louisiana all the way to the Florida Keys in southwest Florida. That's 4 states here, so we do not know. It's a big question mark, although right now, if you're in the Panhandle or western Florida, that's still the highest chance. There's the GFS ensembles as of 18Z. They all take it here into the southeast Gulf, and then the European models, not too far off, a little bit further to the east, closer to the west coast, but again, it's all wait and see right now. Here's a look at the infrared satellite imagery. It is struggling, but the upper air pattern looks much more favorable with the outflow And once this center gets better established, we will see it take off very, very quickly over those hot waters. Here's the wind shear map, and there's that upper-level anticyclone. An anticyclone in our hemisphere moves clockwise. That's why hurricanes move counterclockwise. And they're cyclones. This is an anticyclone. You get it? So when you get high pressure aloft, the anticyclone, which is moving clockwise over the top of that counterclockwise circulation, that ventilates it very well, and that's why it should have a very good environment as it moves into the Gulf of Mexico. However, once it gets towards the North Gulf Coast, cooler shelf water interaction with that trough that's moving down, and that should cause weakening. And again, some of the models take it, I mean, very rapid. In 6 hours from like a Category 2 to a Category 1, it is possible it could be stronger. So you don't want to rule it out. If it's going to be a Category 4 in the Gulf, even if it weakens, guys, that storm surge that it could build up. Katrina was a Category 3 at landfall. Ivan was a 3 at landfall. Just because Ike was a Category 2 over in Texas back in '08, the storm surge can still be tremendous, especially in this area of the Gulf. But that's all far out. We just don't know yet. We're going to have a lot of time to watch it, but it is going to be something we're going to have to deal with. Number one, the key messages. Ian is expected to produce heavy rainfall and flash flooding and possible mudslides in areas of higher terrain over Jamaica and Cuba. Flash and urban flooding is possible over the Keys and the Florida Peninsula through middle of the week, and additional flooding in rivers across northern Florida and portions of the southeast cannot yet be ruled out, so that's a question mark. Number two, hurricane or tropical storm conditions are expected on Grand Cayman beginning early Monday. There's a hurricane warning out for them. Number three, Ian is forecast to be a major hurricane when it passes near or over western Cuba, and there is increasing confidence in life-threatening surge in hurricane winds beginning late Monday in western Cuba, and that's why hurricane and tropical storm watches are out. Those will become warnings probably later on Sunday. Number four, Ian is expected to remain a major hurricane when it moves generally northward across the eastern Gulf during the middle of next week, but uncertainty in the long-term track and intensity is higher than usual. Regardless of Ian's exact track and intensity, there is a risk of dangerous storm surge, hurricane force winds, and heavy rainfall along the west coast of Florida and the Florida Panhandle by the beginning of next week, and residents in Florida should ensure that they have their hurricane plan in place, follow any advice given by the local officials, and closely monitor the progress of this system. Again, guys, this is going to be, we're thinking a major Category 4 hurricane Tuesday and Wednesday over the eastern Gulf, and you cannot bet on the fact that it'll weaken. Right now, the models say it will, but again, what if it only weakens to a Category 3 and that's a major hurricane? What if it doesn't weaken at all? I was convinced, even though the models showed it strengthening, I was convinced Hurricane Michael was going to slosh ashore in the Big Bend as a ragged Category 2, and I was thinking it was going to be a bad storm. It became a Category 5, making landfall, one of only 4 in the history of America. Now, that wasn't the same setup, and we can't predict that, but it's just an example that you never know what these storms are going to do. Look at Fiona, same thing. Fiona was a naked swirl. Look at some of this damage we're seeing in these pictures throughout areas of Nova Scotia. It had the unofficial record pressure of all time in Canada, I believe, 931 millibars. That's not calibrated yet. They're going to have to look into that, but once that's confirmed, it looks like the strongest cyclone to hit Canada and areas of Atlantic Canada. They're very devastating. And those are some of the pressures we saw: 933, 932, 931, 934, 949. By the way, these are pressures that Ian could become in the Gulf of Mexico, showing you how serious it could be. There's a look on the satellite. There's Fiona moving on up and away over Newfoundland, causing its problems. Gaston still hanging around the Azores, causing problems. Hermine weakening here, and a very nice wave leaving Africa. We'll watch this and see if anything happens. But the focus from here on out is going to be on Ian in the Caribbean, forecast to become a Category 4 hurricane over the southeast Gulf. Extreme uncertainty right now in the exact track and intensity. Overnight in through Sunday, we'll have new model data with those synoptic missions they flew around and get some more information and try and pin down exactly where this system will go and how strong it'll be. Stay tuned for further updates on this YouTube channel. I'm Mike Naso, and I'll talk to you guys next time.